Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, and hope you have had a good last few weeks off for the holidays. And if you went to the American Historical Association's annual meeting, I hope you enjoyed your time. I'm sorry, so this appears our paths did not cross, but hopefully you got something out of it like I did. Like I said, I just got back from the 2026 AHA annual meeting up in Chicago, and not only was it cold up there, and I brought it back to Mid Missouri with me, I also wanted to share some insights that I got as to from what I observed and learned from the numerous panels. In case you're not aware, the American Historical Association is the largest organization of historians globally, with 4,000 plus members. And each year there's about 1,500 to 2,000 of us that are in attendance at the annual meeting. So, in addition to networking and perusing the latest offerings from major and university presses, the primary focus of the HA annual meeting is the over 400 panels that one has to choose from. Clearly, as I do not have Hermione Granger's time turner or a DeLorean, I could not attend and did not attend all 400, but I managed to get about 12 of them. And here are a few of the highlights. I will note I'm not commenting on the Society for Military History's George C. Marshall uh, lecture nor the presidential address, as I did not take notes for those because those that get republished in their entirety in the first Journal for Military History and American Historical Review that is released afterwards and after the annual meeting, and you are more than welcome to go to your local library and look at those and read those in the next couple months. I will say the presidential address was very, very, very much more focused toward historians themselves, so I'm most likely not going to cover it on this channel this year. Now, starting off, one of the sessions that I was most excited to attend was one on using generative AI as a tool for conducting research and analyzing my notes to find trends and patterns. The consensus of this panel is that while AI does speed up the research process, one still needs to double check the data and citations before using the results. And this is also something that my fellow school teachers here in Missouri are running into trouble with their students using AI and just not double checking stuff and or turning it into their own words. Also, making sure that the prompt that we place into the generative AI is actually crucial to getting an academic level production of data, as all the AI engines default to a more general audience level. Also, AI engines are constantly being upgraded, and new data, whether it is good or bad, is constantly being entered into the web. So it's best to use at least two engines to conduct research and analyze data. These panels mentioned that they tend to use and that the best AI engines right now, with the top one being Gemini 3 through Google, and there's also a LibreChat and ChatGPT being useful. And they also mentioned that there is an AI just for organizing your notes called Notebook LM, and it'll also analyze my personal collection source material and even help with the citation. I will admit that I will start using this myself because I do intend to use AI to assist me as a research tool as I prepare not just future videos for you all to enjoy, but also on my main historical project, looking at maritime development of maritime strategy in the late 19th, early 20th century. And again, I have no issue if you guys want to use AI to help, research stuff in history. Just make sure that you're double checking everything, make sure it's accurate, because there is bad information that gets fed into those AI engines. Another interesting session was on the poor state of the National Archives, NARA, and the difficulty in getting documents in Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests in a timely manner. This panel did include Lauren Harper from the Freedom of the Press Foundation, who was featured in a John Oliver segment on presidential libraries just a few months ago. And I will drop that link in the description for you if you have not had a chance to view it. Yet, I did gain a few key insights and tips when trying to get records from the federal government. First, why we love it when documents are digitized for easier access, so we don't have to, you know, make arrangements to go on a research trip. This also has the side effect of making those documents more fragile than the original paper record, especially since folks with ill intent can hack into that digital record and manipulate the contents, thus altering the true meaning and purpose of that document. Next, keep in mind that FOIA is not a magic bullet that will force the government to open a or release a document quickly. It's actually a lever to start the process. A third, if needed, and the topic that you're researching is going to be one that generates headlines. Um, sue the federal government for failing to respond to a FOIA request. And they mentioned that university law programs and large firms will, especially if it will generate a huge headline, they will do that kind of work pro bono because it's good practice for the law students and also gets those law firms in their name out there, get more clients. And finally, there are documents that the federal government creates on a daily basis, which are considered temporary documents and not covered on any Federal Records Act or Presidential Records Act um, guidelines. But if you're concerned that those documents will be destroyed before it's reviewed for preservation, and you need it for your research, submit a FOIA request on it because once a FOIA request is submitted on a document, whether it's going to be one that ends up being a permanent document or is a temporary document, FOIA requests, once they're submitted, the government has to preserve those records. Moving on, as this is very relevant in today's political environment, I attended a couple of sessions on fascism. First was on some recent scholarship on the topics involving the far right and fascism. In which I actually do have a topic and therefore a future video, and probably be one of my initial test runs for using generative AI for my research. But there was also a second one that was a roundtable discussing how to teach about fascism in the classroom. And being a teacher that's in interest who wants to teach social studies, that's actually very, very important for me. So this session focused more on teaching this subject at the undergrad level, but thankfully there were actually about half the room with high school teachers like myself. So the very first person who asked a question in the Q&A portion was actually a high school teacher, and we spent half that Q&A time focused on how to teach teens. And one of the insights was, in addition to using graphic novels like Mouse, highly recommended, and memoirs like Anne Frank's diary, I also seen Elie Wiesel's Night being used in the classroom. They also suggested using films like Triumph the Will, and if you can find an edited for TV version of Starship Troopers, that actually is a great satire about fascism, and it also shows how fascism appeals to folks. Additionally, Wikipedia is a tool they recommend because it does show how fascism has changed over time, as it will not look the same as today as it did under Mussolini and Hitler. I will say that the SS is definitely better dressed than ICE, in case you're wondering. And so, yeah, fascism does need to be discussed, and it needs to be discussed in a way that pretty much focuses on how teens learn. And if you can find examples of, uh, memoirs, diaries, autobiographies of folks who were teenagers during that era, those are also good tools to use as well. Later that day, from the roundtable, I also attended a session discussing JFK's foreign policy, and it essentially rebutted some of the revisionist narratives that have attempted to paint JFK as a pacifist that's come out over the past 15, 20 years. These scholars, using newly declassified documentation and now a lot of fully unredacted documents, thanks to, of all people, Alex Jones, show that JFK was just as much a Cold Warrior as his predecessor Ike, and his successor, LBJ. The difference is that Ike and LBJ were maximalist hawks, but JFK was a lot more pragmatic. Um, JFK also preferred to use special forces more than regular forces, and also deployed the Navy in power projection exercises. Thus, had JFK not been assassinated in 1963, contrary to these revisionist assertion, instead of pulling out of Vietnam, the United States would have stayed there, but the number of troops deployed would not have been anywhere near the peak of 500,000 under LBJ. Probably only just maybe been a couple battalions of special forces and a couple of SEAL teams. Then that's about it. Finally, had a little bit of fun on the last day of the AHA meeting, and that was a morning dedicated to the Golden Age of Piracy. Like, because it's last day, a lot of folks do not stay for the half day on the Sunday of the AHA meeting. A lot of them just cut out of town that day because they got to get back to teach classes and whatnot. So I went to two back-to-back panels, and there's like maybe at most 15 of us in the room for both panels, and 9 of them were the panelists for the 2 sessions, and then just 6 randos like me. So the first session, I actually enjoyed that one and was able to attend that one for the full thing. There was 3 scholars sharing their recent works, and what I especially picked up on is the interconnection between the threat of piracy and the Atlantic slave trade. Essentially, one of the reasons why the Golden Age of Piracy came to an end was that the owners of the slavers, the slave ships, were able to get Parliament to start enacting laws that made penalties for piracy more severe. Parliament started deploying the cruisers of the Royal Navy to patrol the most common sea lanes that these slavers use, and also piracy, and especially protecting the slave cargo, is what led to the introduction of maritime insurance, which eventually evolved into the modern insurance system we know today. And those maritime insurance policies had provisions that required ship captains to basically stand their ground and protect themselves and their cargo. In the second session about piracy, it was a roundtable. I didn't get as much out of it other than when teaching it, especially since there's so many myths about pirates. We basically how to disconnect the real experience of pirates from myths that are in existence and well known today. One panelist suggested that using bad history in pop culture is a prompt to teach good history, whether it's about pirates, Wild West, military history, even our own American history, because when there's history, especially stuff that tends to get popular and with the culture, it also tends to lead to myths being developed. So with that, I actually did really enjoy this year's AHA annual meeting. I did get, like I said, a few views for future videos, and also use those ideas to help with experiment with generative AI this year. I hope to give you a report later this year on how that was work, and kind of once I get a process developed, kind of have a video just explaining how I use it and what type of prompts I use on that. So stay tuned for that. Don't expect that anytime, say, in the first or second quarter. I'm expecting that might be more of a third or fourth quarter topic. And with that, I hope you liked this video. Got to learn kind of something new about what's going on with the field of historiography and history that's going on right now. So please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. If you know someone who will enjoy this, please share it with them. As always, feel free to leave comments, but I do ask that you be kind to and respectful of everyone while doing that. And until next week, I will see you later. I'm still trying to figure out that topic, so I can't give you a good preview yet, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.